Hello, everyone. My name is Santosh, and today we are going to discuss a topic called Essentials for Building Robust Features. Before we dive into the topic, I'll give you a quick background about myself. I started off as a mainframe developer at IBM and continued to stay in that realm and worked at ADP for close to 4.5 years. For those who are wondering what's that black box, that's IBM's legacy high-end server. After that, I decided to pursue my MBA, and during that point of time, I started learning about product management, and that's where all this passion started. After MBA, I joined a market research firm called Course 5i, where as a first PM hire, I started managing a new B2B SaaS platform for analytics and market research firms. And at and after working for close to 1.5 year, my curiosity towards game made me apply to this PM position at Electronic Arts, and I started working at Electronic Arts and started managing this Tetris portfolio apps. 2 years down the line, I moved to Melbourne here, where I work now, and started managing Sims Free Play. And any of you who play this game, if you have any feedback, feel free to reach out to me, and it will be interesting to get your opinion. Be happy to get your opinion. All right, so this is a story about Jack, the PM. Jack has identified a fresh market opportunity, and he's very excited about it. He's got the boss's go ahead, and something he's found out which really bodes well with the product strategy. But why does Jack look so nervous? Well, he knows that having good foundation laid out, um, he knows that finding the right opportunity, getting the nods is not sufficient for building a successful feature, and he's nervous. How does he accomplish that? And that is where our topic is going to help. Our discussion today is going to help. Our goal here is to identify those steps that can significantly increase the chances of succeeding. And from practical standpoint, how do we do this efficiently and collaboratively? So that's our agenda. Great. So you've started looking at the problems, and you have your team, and the team is saying, bring it on, right? But before we start, one thing we should ask ourselves, do we have a well-defined problem? What do we mean by that? A well-defined problem is something that conveys the impact on the user and explicitly states why something is not working. As an example, new users not buying after signing up, right? So that's the impact that we're talking about. And now it's talking about the various causes, or like explains why something is wrong. And there could be multiple reasons here. And the reason I'm emphasizing more on define a well-defined problem is that, as you could see, there are multiple causes for that. And each cause will lead you to a separate or a specific sort of solution. And if you're unable to identify all those reasonable causes and covering those, it's unlikely that the feature or the solution that you arrive at makes an impact. And you don't want that, right? So this is where I think having that well-defined problem and knowing a holistic picture of the problem set that we are dealing with is really, really crucial. And there's no harm in spending more time in doing homework, trying to give clarification, doing a better articulation, consultation with the team and like the designers. And do this incorrectly, you will set the entire team in the wrong direction. If done well, this will dramatically improve the chances of success. So there you have it. This is one key step, and I can't emphasize more on solving the right problem. And this is where you lay the strong foundation for setting yourself up for success. All right, aligning the features. So as a follow-up step, after defining the problems, you set a list of goals, user goals, business goals, timelines, resources, constraints, success metrics. But after you do that, you get a reaction from stakeholders like that. So what happened? Well, as you could see, there's an alignment problem. Why do you need an alignment? Well, some of the stakeholders may have seen some goals and said, well, I thought I had a different expectation. They may have a different set of definition for success. Some users or like some stakeholders may want to add, remove, or even modify the constraints, which will drastically affect the solution. Therefore, it's very important that we do this alignment as early as possible, as soon as you draft the goals and you're all in the same meeting room. The end goal here, as part of this alignment, is that everyone's on the same page. We all know that this is the kind of market opportunity we are after. Here are the set of constraints we are going to work with. Here are the timelines. These are the success metrics. Here is how the user experience is going to be. So this is a key factor which you want to ensure in your process of feature development. Great. So now you have a well-defined problem. You have got the alignment with all the stakeholders. Now you're trying to generate some ideas. As PMs and designers, they're ready with their problem solving skills. And those are like the people who want to like, oh yes, I think I know the sauce, and they're so eager to do this. But often what I realized is that the broader team usually has a huge untapped potential. What I mean by that is that the diversity, the quality, and the quantity of ideas that you can get by involving a broader audience into your discussion and into your team meetings can be so enormous. And brainstormings are one great way of unleashing such sort of team power. We generally invite people from engineering, marketing, customer support, artists, user community, customer insights. And the outcome that you're looking for from these meetings is that you get some sort of unique perspective from each of these. And because some of these teams regularly interact with users, therefore you will be surprised by the quality of ideas. And some of these are like really out of the box, which you might not get if you confine the discussion to a shorter group. And because each of these individuals are giving you these ideas, you generally get a higher level of commitment from them, which is really great if you're working as a team. And it gives you gives your team a sort of inclusive feeling where everyone feels like they have a say, which is fantastic for for any high performance team. Right. So now you have heaps of these ideas, and you are now trying to figure out which of these ideas are going to fit well. Well, the obvious way to start filtering these ideas is to figure out which one of these are solving your problems and hitting all those business and user goals. And if they are doing it, few critical things you could do as part of the steps is to make sure that these ideas are future-proof, meaning that at least in the near term, they are compatible with the other teams. You have some sort of visibility of how this feature can tackle few near-term disruptions and things like that. Figure out if this is scalable. All those risk checks in terms of scope, size, complexity, user preferences, and see how if this solution is still ROI positive. Is this within these bounds that you were looking for? Few other ways to evaluate these solutions could be usage of data to like figure out if you have critical mass, if it's hitting all the users. Do some sort of due diligence in terms of, is this a proven concept that's there in the market? Is it working? To what level of confidence can we get from those live examples? And as much as possible, try to distance yourself from any personal biases. I know that when you're pitching an idea, you naturally tend to have some sort of bias towards this, but make sure that you know those biases are not there when you're making that assessment. And after you complete this exercise and pick these ideas, make sure that these ideas are shared, and we talk to the team about why we pick these ideas over others, and thank them, so that they're all aware and they're all aligned about what sort of criteria was taken into account, why this specific idea was a winner against the others. Great. So now you have set of these great ideas that you have validated, and not validate, you've thought that these are good fits or good solutions for your feature. And this is where you want to like get these ideas validated by users. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Typically, a lot of these mobile games like do something called as playable or playtests, where you have a rough prototype of how a certain new functionality or feature is going to work. And in a parallel to this, in B2C or B2B, would be a web or mobile mockup or a demo account. And this could be done with a visual mock as well. But the key thing to notice or take care of here is that ask everyone in the team to notice how users are interacting with the prototype before, during, and after. This is really important, because this might give you some real insights in terms of how the users are wanting to use this, and what kind of expectations they had, and how they are reacting after, so that you could look at this entire journey or the experience of the users with that feature. Ensure that team is nimble footed. I know that these iterations in the prototypes, and like maybe shifting to another idea and trying to create that prototype, all that might take a while until the validation is really successful. So try to be nimble footed there. So don't get too attached with the given solution. If it's validated, fine, go ahead. If not, try to get to the other idea and try to see if it works, and have a very objective criteria while you're picking the solution, and try to make a very unbiased go or no go decision, because like I said, people who are pitching this idea would generally have some sort of inclination towards their idea, and try to get rid of those biases. And one thing you could do is try to balance the refinement versus incremental benefit. If time to market is your key goal in your business goals, the key criteria in your business goals, then make sure that the incremental benefit is much, much higher with each of these refinements. If these refinements are not giving you very much or a high benefit in terms of value, then you might rather want to do a rough, um, you know, refinement, or like rough level of mockup, and go ahead and do the development. Great. So at this point of time, we are at a juncture where you would come across a whole different set of challenges, usually in B2B or even B2C. Due to fast-paced nature of the business, you have competing priorities, unexpected disruptions, and you end up realizing that you may not be able to ship everything, right? And this is a reality. You have to live with it, and this is something very practical. And anyone who's worked in feature shipping would tell you this. So therefore, at this point of time, to make that sort of decision about what you can ship and what you cannot, go back to the goals, figure out what was the market opportunity or user benefits we wanted to capture from this feature. For minimum lovable products, these are for established products. You're trying to gain market share. There could be like competitive pressure. You need a finished product here, where MVP or like a crude version is not going to make the cut. MVP, on the other hand, is important if time to market is your key criteria. So to figure out which version are you trying to aim at. Um, one thing you would obviously do here is that break down the feature into components of like must have, should have, nice to have, to make that distinguish to distinguish MLP versus MVP. And one thing you could do here is that kind of draw a table or some sort of visualization of which feature can be shipped or delivered with given set of constraints, and what additional features or components can you get by adding more resources there. So that will help you make that better decision in terms of what's well, what's good, and what's not good. Yeah, so this is a really good exercise, and this is something that as a PM you would come across in terms of trade-off decisions. So um, really trying to make that objective call of what's MVP, what's not, what's most essential, what's not so essential. Trying to make sure that you're doing this efficiently is really important. It's a key step. All right, showing progress. This is another important step that you could do. This is not just good for the team; it's also good for the entire org that you're working with, because this goes a long way. What it does is that it earns trust, it creates visibility, and it creates some sort of credibility, gives credibility to the team who's building it. Um, in this, typically what you would do is that you would talk to all the important stakeholders, get them into the room, take them through the journey. You can talk to them about how you evaluated the options, assess their confidence levels as well, trying to show them the build of like how it's working. We call them sometimes show and tell. Um, just figure out if like we are under the budget or over the budget. Do you need more resources? Like you've done this exercise before where you were looking at what kind of components you could ship given you get a bit more budget, and if that's acceptable. So you could make those sort of decisions here, and you could also call out if you need support from some other groups who were not included or needs someone um, at higher level to be involved in this one. So this is really important. Can't emphasize more on the aspect of earning trust, visibility, and the credibility components. This gives enough boost to the team and enough confidence boost to the team, and also to the PM who's owning this feature. So it's one of those important steps that you should definitely consider doing. Right. So the last one, which is the communication part. For anyone who's worked in digital consumer kind of business, it's quite common to see, any unexpected disruptions coming in and kind of derailing your release plans. Someone who's worked for like last 4 years would clearly tell you that GDPR and some of these events that I talked about are some unexpected um, announcements or news that um, many a times derail the release plan. And this is important. So as soon as you get this sort of information, make sure that you relay this information to everyone who is impacted here. You might want to share this with users, business, stakeholder teams, and probably the next steps that you want to take, like the assessment based on that disruption. Please make sure that you keep everyone in the loop, particularly post-launch when you're ramping up your exposure. Make sure that you're monitoring your marketing team, your customer support team, user community team, and everyone's aware that something is changing, or like the go or no go decision is already known, so that they're not caught by surprise. And if you want to like tailor your messages for the users who are impacted, you could as well do that. So this is also a critical component, because you don't want to end up in a situation where like features could but because of some unexpected disruption, this like bad or negative experience for the users, and end up blowing up everything for the business. So this is also a very crucial thing um, that you could consider doing while you're building the features. So there you have it. So these are some essential things that as a PM you could do to make sure that you have higher chance of succeeding. And again, these are pointers from my experience. There could be some more, but in general, if you're following these principles, it's you could say with confidence that you are likely to get a successful feature. I hope this helps, and I would thank you all, and feel free to reach out to me on the email ID. Yeah, thank you very much.